the industry around us and the economy is constantly evolving. So
Yes.
even though you might think, okay, I'm pivoting and I'm doing A, now I'm going to do B,
Yeah.
you kind of forget that X, Y, Z variables around you are always changing.
The uncertainty in the beginning was, how do we even build a product that's going to be robust enough to I have in my mind I would like it to do.
You can get so caught up in doing what others have done as opposed to doing what feels right to you and true to yourself.
Yeah, I realised that a solution needed to happen.
So now that you're on the other side of the pivot, what are you most excited about for the future of your business?
Changing the game in retail.
Yeah. I'm Anshika.
I'm Denise Stephenson, and
Welcome
welcome
to
to Visionaries in Progress.
I'm Anshika. I'm the founder of Eternity, which is a software CRM designed for small businesses and solopreneurs operating in the wedding and event sector. I started my business in 2022, so about 3 years ago now, and we decided to pivot at the halfway mark.
Hi, I'm Denise Stephenson. I'm the founder and inventor of Tech Tags. Tech Tags are smart care labels that help retailers identify garment usage. So our goal is to make returns smarter, more profitable, and more transparent. So I pivoted from being a brand owner into tech and innovation.
So Denise, what was the turning point that made you realize a pivot was necessary in your business?
Returns became a hindrance to our profit margins and how much it impacted our business. It really, really was making a massive dent in the business. And I realized that a solution needed to happen. And when I started doing my research, I realized it's a bigger issue than just my small business, like a global issue. So it was mainly around the volume of returns we were getting and the quality that was coming back.
Yeah, so you started to notice that these weren't returns that were unused and unworn.
Yeah, and they weren't like valid returns. They were just customers buying items for a night out and then returning those items. But sometimes they would come back so damaged we couldn't resell them at full price.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess you as a small business felt
Yeah.
that a lot more.
Yeah,
But the
massively.
volumes that it happens for larger businesses and corporations must be insane.
Absolutely insane. The numbers are crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah. And so for yourself, when did you pivot?
So we pivoted a year and a half into the business. So initially our mission was to digitize the South Asian wedding sector, which was about £5 billion worth. And it's an incredible sector. I absolutely love it, can really kind of relate to it. It's my heritage.
Yeah.
But then realized about a year and a half in that our North Star and the mission that we had wasn't as scalable as I wanted it to be, number one, but to the customers perhaps were facing problems that were actually much larger that no one was tapping into.
Yeah.
So it was actually as it is being at networking events and listening to businesses talking and just hearing them say, that's so frustrating, where I realized, you know what, in our industry, I was solving a problem of discovery when actually it was the operations and maintenance that needed a resolution.
So cool. That is brilliant. How did you navigate those uncertainties, the risks involved in making that change?
Yeah, I think it's always tricky because it's quite daunting when you feel like you need to make a bit of a change and pivot. And I think we were talking about this briefly before the pod that you kind of feel a bit like you failed if you do pivot. But it's nice to hear people talking about how pivots are actually healthy, and a lot of businesses do go through them. You just probably don't realize it, that a lot of the bigger businesses that we've seen exist now, like Netflix and everything, had a pivot at some point. So I think for me, it was one, just making a really calculated risk and kind of knowing, okay, from a financial perspective, can we afford to make this risk? And then number two, just kind of validating it, speaking to customers and saying, okay, well, if I've identified this as the problem, let me speak to someone who actually deals with it day in, day out, just to confirm it. And I think that was it. We really built with our customers. So we used to have kind of weekly or monthly check-ins with certain customers just to make sure that what we were building was really aligned with them.
Yeah.
And even now we do. I think with every tech product, it's
Yeah, you
never
have
complete.
to. Yeah,
Like
you always do
always
iterations.
incomplete.
Yeah, you're always upgrading it because the customer sometimes can shift as well. So you need to
Okay.
make sure you're capturing those shifts, or you get new customers that you didn't actually consider.
Yes.
So you also need to accommodate for those people as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's about not falling into that trap of there's a demand for this product because 5 of my friends and family have said there is. You
Yeah.
really need to speak to people who are at the
100%.
heart of the problem.
Yeah.
How about you?
And I can relate to that as well. So the uncertainty in the beginning was, how do we even build a product that's going to be robust enough to I have in my mind I would like it to do. So going on that big quest and finding out different ways of technology, how we can manipulate into making it sustainable, tangible, and produce data, that was a big task in itself. And it's taken a little while through getting our patent and stuff, and also research. The research early on validating, obviously the returns market has grown even more. So at the moment in the UK alone, it's £8 billion costing retailers annually just in the UK. So you can imagine that on a global scale, how big that is. Another thing that we had to consider was, how would our tags also protect the honest customer? So when we done our market research, we found that 33% of honest customers feel penalised by the new return strict policies. So now our tags actually cover them as well. So they're allowed to return for a sizing issue or a change of mind without a feeling they're being penalized, or there's this like this data saying with having high returns, because some fast fashions, you don't always know the right size.
No.
You know, so those uncertainties were evolved as we've done different iterations.
I love that though, because I think that what you said there, where you have to look at both sides of the coin, is so important. Because often with businesses, when you initially start it off, it's like, okay, this is the business, this is the problem, and this is how to commercialize it.
Yeah.
And you actually have to take a step back and holistically look at what you're building and the impacts it's having, which I think
100%.
is really cool.
And I actually went on the grounds and literally spoke directly to customers. I spoke directly to store staff, because they mainly manage it, and they mainly have the discrepancies, the back and forth with the customer. So they're like our key insiders, I guess, to understand what the pain points would be and what kind of solutions did they really want. Do they want a hardware? Do they want a software? And actually, they actually wanted both. They wanted something that backed them up. So, yeah.
What was the biggest challenge that you faced during the pivot, and how did you overcome it?
Retailers know there's a big issue because there's lots of uproar. If you remember Pretty Little Thing speaking about their changes and having a premium, I think Opoly has a premium charge now if you return, and Pretty Little Thing's literally banning you. And I think the biggest challenge is shifting from the conventional mindset of the customer's always right to actually being a bit more balanced, because at the moment the retailers are doing really harsh punishments to try and get back the control. But we need a balance. We need a bridge.
No middle.
Yeah, there's no middle. We need a bridge, because you don't want to lose your customers. But I understand there's nothing on the market that's facilitating and helping retailers to be able to create that balance. So I think our challenge at the moment is retailers coming out of that conventional mindset, not being scared to put their foot down a little bit, and our product being something that helps them and navigates that. So just kind of, it's a mindset shift and the cultural shift in returns and how that's been handled for many, many years. And so what was for yourself? Sorry.
I think for us, it was where we still had the same customer base when we pivoted. So we've always been B2B. So for us, it's the wedding industry, decorators, caterers, photographers, where we still had the same audience, kind of trying to explain to them the pivot. And it's all about messaging. And I think that's the thing that comes across, is kind of saying, okay, this was our mission and this is what our product initially did. And now we do something which is completely different. And I think there's only so many comms you can send, because people don't read emails nowadays.
And they feel bombarded by just constantly getting emails at them.
And I think that was the trickiest thing, is kind of people probably still misunderstanding what we did about 3 to 4 months post pivot. And then kind of saying, well, we sent an email, we'd sent 5 emails, and our socials are completely different. But I think that's the tricky thing, is you've realigned all of your branding, because we did a full-on rebrand with our logo, our colours and everything. So I think a lot of people would congratulate me on the new logo, and it would say, oh no, it's a completely new business model as well. And the way that it serves you as clients is very different, because then their expectations change. So what they had as ROI expectations pre-pivot versus post-pivot are completely different, but it's kind of making sure that gets
How are you
translated.
delivering your service?
In terms of?
Is it through apps? Is it through
So we're
events?
a website.
Just for your website?
Yeah, so we're a website, and then we have loads of different marketing channels. So for us, we've got the kind of top of the funnel, which is our social media. Then we've got the email marketing, which is often those who are a bit more engaged. And then we do have an even more insider one for those who are actual clients. So I think that's the tricky thing for the top of the funnel, is how do you get that messaging across? Because we were a lot more heavily B2C focused. We were quite B2B to C pre-pivot, and now we're quite B2B.
I think maybe doing like infographics, or thinking of AI ways to kind of show the user journey on social media, that may, a lot of times B2B, we just want to go straight to the point. Like we don't need the fluff. Like customers may need the fluff and all that stuff, but B2B tend to be like, when you do like your psychometric,
than emotional,
exactly. So doing something that's really clear and a complete user journey, but like snippets, I think they will get it more so than emails, because imagine a B2B, you're constantly on the ground working, and you're not even thinking to check emails like that. You probably dedicate time, and you want something that's quick, snappy, and just, it's what we're doing.
And that's really interesting you say that, because we find that a lot of our outreach conversions, most of them come from social media, as opposed to emails. Like even if it's someone who's on your newsletter, even if it's cold outreach, the rates of conversion and success that we have, if you kind of post a lot on socials and then say, oh, DM us if you want to know more, and actually just speak to them that way, is so much higher.
Because people like convenience.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so convenient to just DM you versus reading through a trail of email. I remember they've got like 600 other emails as well. So it's like, oh, that's exhausting. So, but on socials, you can design in such a way that's just like catchy.
Yeah.
And then someone gets into, oh, I'm interested in that. What else do I need to know? What
Yeah.
else do I need to do?
I think that's the interesting thing, because as much as you can pivot your own business,
Yeah.
the industry around us and the economy is constantly evolving.
Yes.
So even though you might think, okay, I'm pivoting and I'm doing A, now I'm going to do B,
Yeah.
you kind of forget that X, Y, Z variables around you are always changing. 'Cause
yeah.
I think pre-pivot, the way that we did our outreach and our sales journey was so different to post-pivot, not just because of the product itself, but like you
The
said,
culture,
because of the
everything's
culture and the
shifting.
habits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing we find within the retail space. It's changing. Also, it's very, and it's not changing quickly. It's very outdated. People want a solution, but it's the cultural shift that needs to take place for it all to kind of marry up together.
Yeah.
So we have to constantly be aware that, okay, these things are coming into play. So you constantly got to keep your ear on the ground and listen to your surroundings of what's happening in your market. And those that's going to, it's like indirect impacts as well from other indirect industries that will impact your market.
Absolutely.
And that is so key.
That's also just the biggest tip to anyone pivoting is don't be siloed in during your pivot, because for us especially, it was perhaps taking 6 months out to then redo our technology and all those things. But if for those 6 months I was off the ground, I would have missed a lot.
Yeah.
But you kind of think, oh, I'll come back when the product's fully ready and then I'll relaunch this brand new shiny thing. And it just does not work like
It
that.
doesn't always work that way. For an entrepreneur listening, how can someone tell when it's the right time to pivot, or even when it might be the right time to quit and start something new? That is
a big one. Because again, like we said, it's really daunting. And there's the emotional side to it, the financial side to it, the business side to it. You've got existing customers and you don't want to disappoint them. But I think I can only speak from my experience. But if I had any advice on when to pivot, it would say, one, perhaps your numbers are telling you, actually commercially, is this making sense anymore? Is my burn rate too high versus what's coming in? So I think one is keep a really close eye on your numbers, which is something I perhaps didn't do when I started off.
Of course, you never know.
You never know.
If you figure those things out later on, how important it is
Yeah.
to just be really into the granular details of the business. Because we just love the idea, especially if it's a creative space. You're just creative.
So
you just want to.
passionate.
You're so passionate. You want to just make it pretty.
Yeah.
But then the crux of your business is those real tangible details. What is your projections? How you're going to market? Who is your customers? How have you validated? All those, and your numbers, of course. Are such big impacts. And you're right. If they're not aligning, you're going to have to take a breath and figure out, okay, what's the best way to maneuver, to pivot, or do we need to literally call it a day?
Yeah. And I think it comes down to that being number one. And then, like you said, number two, just speaking to your customers.
Yeah.
Because they'll tell you.
Your business always tells you. I used to say this so much when I had a brand.
Yeah.
Your customers will always tell you exactly what they want and who they are.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to have
if
that.
you have your blinkers on, you're not going to hear it, which is why you have to keep your blinkers off and actually be grounded and be really open to feedback. Like, I think it's one thing that every single onboarding call that I do now, I always say we love feedback, good and bad.
Yes, yeah.
And I always say I don't get offended with bad feedback because actually it's a way for us to improve the product. Because if I don't know anything and then a customer churns, that's a worse feeling.
Yeah.
So it's kind of making sure that your customers know that you're building a kind of next gen business. That's always one of our values and all of our messaging. It's one of our pillars is that we're a next gen business.
Yeah.
But to do that, we do have to be open.
Yeah. And that is a big thing. So I remember I was talking about pivoting is not just like the physical action. Sometimes it's the mindset growth as a founder. And I think I had to do that a lot, is becoming a lot more vulnerable to my needs and my wants and what my deliverables were. And last year, I think I really stepped into being a lot more vulnerable, asking for help. And that kind of brought in a lot of expertise that could say, okay, Denise, this is what we think that you probably need to consider and to do. And just a growth for me as a founder, stepping into that leadership role when engaging with partners. Sometimes a partner could look so good on paper. They've done this, they built this product, and you have a conversation with them about what you're looking for. And it just doesn't align. And being so comfortable to say, sorry, this is not it. You're really kind.
Absolutely.
And you're amazing. We had a great time, but it's just not right for me.
No.
Not for
and
our
that's
brand.
so admirable because like we were talking about, you do have to just cancel out the noise.
100%.
Because as a founder, you kind of, especially nowadays, you see everything on social media. You see, okay, so-and-so's done their journey that way. Should I be doing it that way as well?
Yeah.
But often you can get so caught up in doing what others have done as opposed to doing what feels right to you and true to yourself.
Yeah.
And then ultimately it does come to a lot of pressure when it comes to, okay, should I pivot or should I shut shop? Because you've not really been true to yourself. And and fulfill the whole journey. Because I always think anyone who goes out to be a founder, you have that little spark,
You do,
which has
yeah.
been there for ages, and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, I want to do something new, and you have to give it a go.
Yeah.
And you'll only succeed if you do it authentically
Yeah.
versus trying to be someone else.
And it's so challenging to be authentic as well. So I think as a new entrepreneur or somebody trying to come into the entrepreneurship space,
Yeah.
I think it's really important to trust your guts. Like literally listen to yourself. You're not like, you've come up with an idea, you've come up with a whole solution or whatever it is that you've come up with. And that's for a reason. And I'm not saying all the time you're going to be right, but majority of the time you are right in what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And taking a step back to say, okay, let me think about this and let me see how this is truly aligning with my business, my vision. And if it doesn't, and that generally doesn't, it's okay to say no. The right thing will come to you, no matter if it's 2 years, 10 years, the alignment will happen. And you've got to trust that.
And it's what you just said there. I think, and my family and friends always remind me every chance they get, that even taking that step as a founder and starting something else, or investing money into something which is a sunk cost up until it makes you that return, is a really courageous thing to do.
Huge.
So you have to remind yourself that not everyone can do that.
Yeah.
And you're either in a place of a lot of privilege or a lot of kind of courageousness to be able to do it. Yeah.
Grit.
Yes, literally that. And I think that just speaks volumes.
It does. It does speak a lot of volumes to just the character of a founder, because it's not an easy journey.
No.
There's a lot of uncertainty that you go through throughout the journey. I don't think it ever really stops. As you grow, as you get more and more money, you get more and more customers, you're constantly
You
like,
get more and more problems.
Yeah, literally you have to make bigger decisions.
Yeah.
So biggest thing would be trust your guts, ask for help,
Yeah.
and stay the journey.
And that's the thing. I think a lot of the time right now you see like, okay, overnight success, and this is what the expectation
TikTok
is.
just ruins the reality.
It does. And I think that's where, when it comes to pivoting, perhaps another piece of advice would be, don't pivot too soon. Like test the market as well. If something doesn't work in 1 week, don't stop doing it.
Yeah.
But like,
doesn't mean it's done in the dumps.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people think, oh, but so-and-so's went viral and then their business just grew in like 6-figure sales overnight. But I think that's often a mistake that people sometimes make with pivoting, is that we get quite impatient.
Yeah.
And we think, oh, let me just keep switching ideas. But then you're confusing yourself, you're confusing your market. And so it's having that clarity on what is the mission and the North Star, because the journey to it might be really different. But you can't keep changing the destination as frequently.
Yeah. And that's what delays you, actually.
Yeah.
There's a really good book I read, well, it was during when I was doing my master's, and it's called The Blue Ocean Theory.
Right.
So basically the Blue Ocean Theory talks about the concept of the red ocean is basically competing with your competitor, and blue ocean is having that little niche to yourself. So for example, Uber, there's always been taxis, there's been black taxis, there's been mini cabs, but what they've done was make it convenient for the everyday person. Click of your finger, and that was their little pivot that made them so niche. But look at who they are now. Same with Deliveroo. They made the corporate companies like McDonald's have a delivery service. And that book literally opened my mind in terms of, okay, you don't have to have this huge, massive idea. You can have a rice grain of a pivot from what's currently in the market, which will set you so aside and trust that.
I love that.
Trust that. That book is so good. It's a bit chunky, but it's such a good book to open your minds, because so many people have so many ideas, but they're competing with their competitors so hard, and that's what makes you want to quit and fail. Like, not quit and fail, but just quit quickly, because you're like, there's so many people doing it. But if you sit down, you actually look at that space and you think, but what is missing? And it's just sometimes it's so tiny. Five Guys is just they use peanut oil. Do you know what I mean? It's so tiny. That's it. They make just good a burger as Burger King. But they just use peanut oil.
So now that you're on the other side of the pivot, what are you most excited about for the future of your business?
Changing the game in retail. Like literally making it a new standard of operating globally. I'm so excited about that. I think because we cover for both sides of it, of the retailer's perspective as well as the honest customer, I think it'd just be a complete game change. It's like the bags, and they start charging the 5p bags. And it's just
revolution.
It's revolution. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to being the pioneer and just really making retail returns more profitable for the retailer and more clear for the customer.
Love that.
And yourself?
I think for me, very similar, just digitizing an industry,
Yeah.
which has always been really traditionally offline.
Mm-hmm.
And I always, where we work in the wedding industry, I always say it's involved in the happiest day of someone's life.
Yeah.
But recently it started becoming a really sad process and everyone was just stressed out. Like no one enjoys planning their wedding. Businesses were stressed
What
and
was that?
closing
Was that
down.
from COVID?
I think it was post-COVID. I think it was just social media, the stress. Like
Yeah.
with weddings comes family pressure, emotional pressure,
Mm.
financial pressure. There's so many different things that you're trying to do, and it's essentially stakeholder management. So if you're not a
Yeah.
project manager, it's quite tricky to do.
Yeah.
So I think for us, it's playing that part in the most important day of someone's life, which just excites me so much because I
Yeah.
know that a lot of it comes from the experience that these businesses give you because you get engaged, you're reliant on all of your different businesses to literally bring your dream wedding to life.
Yeah.
But you kind of feel a bit helpless of like, okay, well, I've never done this before. I don't know what's going to
Yeah.
happen. So I think anything that we can do from the source, which is the businesses, just really excites me. And just, digitizing for the next generation. We're a really Gen Z focused
Yeah.
business,
Okay.
especially when it comes to the industry. I think over 50% of couples that are now engaged are Gen Z. And the
Yeah.
way that we work and consume businesses, products, data is just so different.
Completely.
So it's exciting to see that shift. And we want to be the ones making that shift from offline into online because the
Yeah.
wedding industry is miles behind any other one.
Yeah. And so how do you feel that your business will impact, weddings are changing a little bit. People are kind of going for micro weddings now
Yeah.
that elope a lot. I see
So
loads of
much.
that. They just don't want to spend that big budget. So how are you accommodating for
It just empowers the couples. So we've
Yeah.
got a digital planning side for the couples as well. Regardless of size of your business, I always say we're a mass product.
Yeah.
We're made for anyone and everyone to
Yeah.
actually have the wedding that you want, as opposed to the wedding that you think you need to be boxed into. And
Yeah.
that's the same for businesses.
Yeah.
You get luxury businesses, you get those who are mass businesses and actually appeal to anyone and everyone of all different kinds of budgets. For us, we just want that technology to be the same. We want
Yeah.
a transparent, coherent, efficient experience provided. Right now, everyone uses notebooks, and
I
that's
know.
just awful. Pains me every time someone says that.
Yeah. Amazing.
Amazing.